Yes.
And I had to get a color-coded bracelet.
Yes, like the one I'm wearing.
Yes, and you know who else does that? It's the Mexican cartel.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, and let's go, Brandon.
Okay, I am hoping that you guys can hear me good. I am on the road, actually, in beautiful South Texas. I just shared some really beautiful photos of a just wonderful rainbow that we had out here just a little bit ago, and the birds were chirping. It was just amazing. So I was just very blessed today by being able to see that. But so I hope it's not too echoey, but I want to just jump right on into it. Of course, it is Monday, May the 23rd, the day before elections. Election day is tomorrow for the primary runoffs. Of course, polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m. And I am just so thankful that my good friend Raul, I'm going to bring him on here. My good friend Raul Reyes is joining me today. Raul Reyes is currently running for Texas Senate District 24, and he is a retired lieutenant colonel for the Air Force. And I have just been so blessed to get to know Raul over this past year and a half, however long it's been. It feels like it's been never ending, but I've just been so blessed to get to know him. And you guys know the work that I do, or that I've been doing down here at the border. And Raul has been at the front lines with so many others like Frank and so many others down here trying to do what we can. So thank you so much, Raul, for coming on. I know you are just slam busy. You are out there. You've been hitting the pavement. And so thank you for taking the time to come on with me tonight. Thank you.
Hey, Sheena, thanks for having me. Can you hear me clearly? Hopefully we're sounding okay. I've got you live on my Facebook page. So we're asking everybody share this. And, this is the night before election, tomorrow, Tuesday, it's a runoff. All bets are off. It doesn't matter how much money you do or you don't have. If the folks out there don't know who you are, then, he who gets the voters out wins. But let me just say this. I am thrilled to be with Sheena here. What most people don't know is I'm talking at the pinnacle of not just being on the border, folks, but she's been in Austin. And if we're blessed to get there ourselves as a senator, she's going to be one of our main resources. She can pull the right levers with the right representatives and the right senators. She's made a lot of noise, and I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me, Sheena. Tomorrow, you got to get out and vote, folks. And we've been running 1,000,000 miles an hour. If you look at our Facebook page, we've been just about everywhere. We've met just about everyone. And I think, I don't know if you knew this or not, Sheena, but they stole my truck. So we've been in a rental car for a while. I checked the mileage today, and it's something like 40,000 miles in the last 4 months. And so that'll tell you what we've been up to. And but I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me. And of course, hopefully a whole lot of folks are going to watch this and see that we're the real deal. So appreciate you having me for sure.
Oh my goodness. That's about right. And, the stealing of the trucks is happening all in automobiles in general, is happening all over the place. Of course, directly related to the border. And that's one of the top issues, is because of these stolen vehicles. But I thank you so much for coming on. And you know what, Raul, I'm going to say Texas needs you. People ask me all the time I live in North Texas, but I've spent a lot of time obviously down here in South Texas and across Texas and at the state capitol. You've seen me at work a little bit. Yeah. So, and you know what? And Raul, you were out there. Even before this new election bid, this new election run, you were out there. You were out there in Carrizo Springs, at all the border awareness events. You're out there. You were born and raised in Del Rio, and you know firsthand. And even with your going to your service to this country, you don't want to You're retired, and yet you still continue serving this country in this great state of Texas. And so if you'll just kind of give, because you know firsthand, being born and living and being raised right here in Del Rio, Texas, not far from where I'm at. Tell us a little bit about yourself for those, who may not be familiar with you, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So, born and raised in Del Rio, I went to join the Air Force, got a commission, and in 94, I took off and was all over the place. And a lot of places I went to were places like Colombia, Guatemala, Honduras, all these places everybody talks about where the problems are coming from. I worked out of U.S. Southern Command. I consider myself the expert on all things Latin America. And, we were, I was privy, unfortunately, to be on the forefront of everything that happened ever since Pablo Escobar was killed back in about 89. Well, I came in about 94, so the turmoil started right as I jumped in as a second lieutenant. When I retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2016, I come home and like everybody else, we're looking for a job. We sort of bounced around a little bit to find the right spot. We end up at Randolph Air Force Base ultimately. And about 2018, Donald Trump's been in office for 2 years. They're raking him over the coals over Russian collusion, which we back then knew was fake. And we're all looking at this border as he's trying to fix it. And at that time, we had Will Hurd in the 23rd Congressional district there that goes from El Paso all the way to San Antonio. And that guy didn't think there was a border crisis, much less an invasion. And so, after a lot of pondering, look, you really never stop defending the Constitution, whether it's the Texas state Constitution and even more so the U.S. Constitution. The forefathers had it correct the way they put together this awesome document that has kept us as an American nation, just living liberty at its full potential. But here lately, you look at the border, and we ran in a congressional race and we lost to that. I'm gonna go out there today and just call him a socialist, George Soros puppet, Tony Gonzalez. And I know you're in Brackettville, so that guy's not helping any of his own district. And so we lost by 7 votes. I tell folks, we were trumped on election night, the last runoff. We lost by 7 votes, and coincidentally, Bexar County found a stash of votes in the back of a trunk or something overnight, about 2:30, 3 in the morning. We're -7, down below, and we never recover. And so, or else you would be looking at the congressman of Congressional District of 23. You're right. We sort of backed off, but we really never did. This January of last year, and Frank Lopez, the border patriot, folks, you got to follow him. He's running against Tony Gonzalez in Congressional, District 23 to take out that George Soros guy. And what's happened is he said, Raul, we got to do a border rally, a symposium, and we did. The Civic Center was maxed out. I think Bianca might have been there. Bianca Gracia, a good friend of ours, and some other folks. And then we went to Carrizos, and then we were essentially all over the place. And that led, you were applying pressure down in Austin. And next thing you know, Abbott is in Del Rio promising to arrest everybody, to provide the resources that Kenny County and a lot of the counties needed. We were doing 391 commissions with another wonderful lady, Maria Espinosa, was out there helping. There was a slew of other folks. I'm missing some folks. I know there's a lot of credit to be given here. Brent Smith, who is a fantastic, county attorney, looks at the Texas state Constitution and says, we're just going to max it out. That's it. And, Brad Cole, a fantastic patriot, retired Border Patrol agent as well. And next thing you know, we're making progress on getting attention on this border. But fast forward a year, and Operation Lone Star has been in place for a while. The problem now is we're under an invasion. That you've been there, more so than most people. Heck, you've been there more so than my opponent and a few other people who were, Senate representatives for District 24. And the answer is obvious. We're at that point where this is no longer an immigration issue as far as what they did back in 2005 when Arizona decided to take on the federal government. This is now an invasion, and we always look at the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, that clause down there that says if the federal government can't, or in this case, it is purposely broken the border. I mean, you cannot have Donald Trump put it in a place where nothing is coming across the border. Everybody seems to be okay with the way things were. We should have legislated a few things to make it solid, but now, Biden has purposely broken it. And I tell folks, everybody says, well, this is an open borders policy. No, this is a no borders policy. And we were saying to people that 7,000 a day were coming across. Our sources a couple of days ago are telling us now we're at 20,000 people. And look, you've been to Del Rio, you've been to Eagle Pass. And folks, what's happened here is it's very clinical. It's very clean. At 1, 2 in the morning, people cross over. Maybe not on Sundays, right, Sina? Because the NGOs have got to rest, I guess. I'm not sure. And they come over at 1 or 2 in the morning. They get picked up by Border Patrol. The NGOs then get them. They give them their manila folders, and off they go. By 6 o'clock in the morning, you've got 10, 20 buses from every one of these locations going to San Antonio. And in the case of Del Rio, they go to Laughlin Air Force Base sometimes and get flown out of there. Imagine that, a military installation being used to move illegal aliens. And, people call them immigrants and migrants. Listen, we have not passed a law that says this is okay. And this is what happens when you have, too many department heads up in Washington, D.C. You can get up to the Department of Education, the EPA, and all these other. But in this case, right, it's DHS, Mayorkas, Director Mayorkas has set policy by what you can say the right words and you're going to get across that border to the tune of 20,000 people. And yeah, this is a problem, Sheena. We're you and I, the Biancas of this world. You look at down there, Rolando, and there's just a whole lot of people along this border that have been just pushing for Greg Abbott to do more. In my case, the Senate trying to get there. We're pushing Dan Patrick to do more because it's not enough. Here's what I tell folks. 19 years of Republican leadership. There's a few things we aren't able to do, and I don't understand why, but we can't secure this border. And, how many kickbacks are the NGOs providing to our elected officials? Is it the same thing with gender mutilation of our children? This is a priority for Texans, for the Republican Party base, and Dan Patrick won't put it as a priority to legislate it in, when we get back to doing business of the state of Texas. And we found out during the governor's race that him and Abbott and a few other folks are getting, they're getting money from these people. And so I wonder, is this why we haven't secured the border? And more importantly, is this why we haven't abolished abortion? Think about what I'm about to ask you folks. 19 years, we passed a heartbeat bill, a trigger bill, and here soon, Roe versus Wade is going to tell us, when they overturn it, they're going to say, the great state of Texas and all other 49 states could have easily passed a law and decided in their own state how they want to deal with abortion. And in between, we killed millions and millions of babies. You want to go to California, have an abortion, have at it. I don't live there. But here in Texas, we will abolish abortion. And so it goes to the state of the way things are in Texas. It's Republican led, but I think there are a bunch of Democrats who've inserted themselves in these positions. They're playing the middle. Some people want to be president, I guess. Some people want to be land commissioner. Land commissioners want to be attorney generals. I mean, they're all just juxtapositioning me. I just want to work for the people. And I know Sheena there and a whole lot of the folks, we've been in Austin together and we've been hitting, representatives and some of them literally closed the door on Sheena. They literally don't want to see you. But we're not going to give up, right, Sheena? I mean, we're here. We've got to make some things happen. And yeah, that's a long version of how I got here, but we're not going to give up. I mean, we live here, our children, Sheena, and all the other Texans that they drive on these streets. Car chases and bailouts are a danger to our kids, our families, and it's time. That's why they don't like me, and they're throwing the kitchen sink at us as we speak right now.
Well, and one of the things, and guys, KN, I saw here that you said it won't let you share. Guys, like and share the video, get it on out there. We are live right now currently on Facebook, Twitter, Getter, YouTube. Like and share, get the word out there because we need, yeah, they should be able to. It is on public. So, but I will also be able to share, I'll go back afterwards and share the YouTube link. But guys, I mean, we need more. We need 100 more of Raul's in Austin on both the Senate
And
side
Sheena's.
and the red.
We need a lot. We need a lot more. We need a lot more Sheena's too. I'll tell you what. But you're right. I appreciate that a lot. And we had our friend Bianca Gracia. She ran for state senate. Here's what the title. If I was a journalist of sorts, and for people who don't know, but Bianca Gracia is, Latinos for Trump director, president, and for all practical purpose, the creator of this group. When Trump came down that escalator, she's one of the few people who said, we're going to get behind that guy. This is 2015, 2016. Now, the group went, nationwide. It sort of broke up into pieces. But, here's Bianca. She runs for Senate, the state Senate in Houston. This is what if I was playing that game, this is what the title of the newspaper would say, activist female Latina, pro-Trump, creator of the Latinos for Trump, very successful group, does not get his endorsement. Wow.
Right.
And look, this, we all endear Trump, but something's happening with those endorsements. And it's sort of where we are here, you, me, and a whole lot of other folks who really are border hawks. And, we're for abolishing abortion. We're for lowering our taxes. We're for getting critical race theory out of our schools. And I had this conversation today, and I know this is one of your, one of your topics that you've taken on is pro-life. And I tell folks, look, next time you see a politician and they say, I'm pro-life, the first thing out of your mouth is, okay, but are you pro-abolishing abortion? Because there is a difference. Everybody's pro-life until you ask them, will you legislate to abolish abortion? And I'm on record saying we will do that in the Senate. And this is why they don't like us, because imagine saying that you're going to do something and actually go do it. And then when they all balk, and what I mean that is it's a Republican-led Senate, when they balk, we will force a vote to determine what Republican really doesn't want to abolish abortion, because that would put you on the other side of the fence, you see. And we're tired of moderates. We're tired of whatever this is. And but the Uniparty runs big in Austin, just like it does in Washington, D.C.
And I would argue, honestly, because I've spent some time over this during the regular session and the special sessions, I think that the swamp in Austin is worse. And you talked about the pro-life issue, and I want to plug in your website really quick. So this way, while we're doing the interview, two people can go to your website. The website is Reyes, the number 4, Texas.com. Reyes, the number 4, Texas.com. Election day, guys, for the primary runoff is tomorrow. The polls open at 7. If you are in District 24, you need to, I need, Secure the Border needs, and Texas needs, all of Texas needs Raul Reyes in office, because a lot of these issues, a lot of these issues impact all of us. The border security is one of them. The pro-life issues, and yes, I started off as a volunteer counselor, in my area, the Metroplex area, DFW area. And one of the reasons why I am so adamant about the border is because as I started to come, the border is a pro-life issue, in my view. People are being manipulated. People are being incentivized to come. People's lives are at stake. Texans are suffering. Children are suffering, and that should not, we cannot control. You said, we can't control what happens in California or Arizona or New Mexico. Right now, I can't even think beyond the great state of Texas. Yeah. And one of the things that's on your website, Reyes, the number 4, Texas, that catches my eyes, and we've been talking about this all last year, is state sovereignty. And I feel like a lot of these issues, state sovereignty is the core of it, whether it be Roe versus Wade, whether it be the border. People are saying, that the border, for example, is a federal issue. I remember when I spoke in Pleasanton or wherever it was, Hondo, whichever one it was, that was the first time that I said, I'm like, it doesn't matter. And you said it earlier, when the federal government fails, to uphold its duty, it's saying that it's a federal issue is not acceptable to the great citizens of Texas, your constituents, when their cars are being stolen, when their water lines are being broken into, when their houses are being broken into, when when their children, they can't even allow their children to go down the street or on their own property. It goes back to state sovereignty, from the schools to the elections to the to everything, the abortion issue. Wholeheartedly agree. And so that was one of the things that I feel like, and it is the biggest thing, because it is all encompassing, is state sovereignty. And with regards to the border and pro-life, the pro-life issue, and you've touched on it a little bit, but with regards to the border, what are some of the things when Raul Reyes gets into office, after he plugs in the Keurig for his friend Sheena with the Cafe Bustelo for when she comes to your office? What are some of the things that you're going to be pushing for the legislatively from with regards to, let's just start off with the border security?
Yeah, so look, the wonderful thing is, and I've seen some of your work, we're going to appeal some of those and use that. I know you were with Senator Bob Hall. They had a border security, meeting or committee, whatever that was. And boy, let me tell you, some of the nuggets that came out of that are terrific. For one, and if you talk to a guy, Brent Smith, who you're probably within an earshot of in Kenny County there, he wants one thing amongst many other things, and that is make it a felony to come into his county if you're an illegal alien. Because what most people don't know is that if you're an illegal alien and there's a trespassing charge, it's a misdemeanor at best, and you cannot get deported for that. They slap you with a ticket and you move on. But if we make it a felony, then guess what? Our law enforcement can then quickly adjudicate that at the county level, turn around and just take them to the port of entry and be done with it. And so, but to do that, because, it's politics, I've been screaming very loud that we need to declare an invasion at this border, because as soon as you do that, we get away from the, SCOTUS reading, back of 2005 or 6, whatever that was. It was Arizona Brewer versus U.S., where, they were trying to do more on immigration, and Obama actually didn't want to, so they sued the U.S. federal government. They lost based on immigration law, but we're now under invasion conditions. 20,000 people coming in over a day. Just because you don't see it clearly doesn't mean they're not coming here. And so, declare an invasion, make it a felony to come into a county, so that law enforcement across the board, DPS, and of course our county sheriffs, who are the strongest law arm of the entire county, they can then, without a doubt, defend and secure their counties against this, because it's only going to get worse. And you've been in Kenny County, so have I. It went from Del Rio to Kenny County, this creep, where we started to see car chases and, of course, the bailouts. Kenny County has been under those conditions, I would say red conditions, for a long time. But now you look up a little further north into Junction, which is Kimball County. The county sheriff there is just daily now being barraged with just bailouts and car chases. But I would look to the Bob Hall committee that they had, and I saw the stuff you put out there. But the bottom line here, it goes back to sovereignty. I'm going to work backwards here by looking at it one more time. Soon SCOTUS is going to tell us what we've known all along, what some of us have been screaming at the top of our lungs: just abolish abortion in Texas. The reason that the Supreme Court looked at the heartbeat bill and at him and Hogg and then did nothing about it, and the law stood, is because that's Texas. That's a state sovereignty issue. As long as we make it law in any state, the Supreme Court doesn't overrule it. It can't. It absolutely cannot. So using that as a parallel, we don't need to wait for the federal government to defend U.S. citizens. Right now, Article 1, Section 2 is being violated by the federal government. So, and at best, they're just not doing their job, which means we, Texas, can actually use our sovereignty to defend Texas citizens. And, I used to hear all the candidates running against Abbott, we don't need permission from the federal government to do. And the answer is, it's true. The reason we are flinching is because we have weak leadership at the Senate. at the governor level, at the House level. They're all a bunch of Democrats pretending to be Republicans, or else we would never have an issue. I mean, again, you just have to look at the absurdity of things. Why, with 19 years of Republican leadership, have we not abolished this travesty of killing children in the womb? And the answer is, are we waiting for more Republicans because we own everything? Are we going to let Democrats do it? I don't think they're in for that. And so, I'm just a guy from Del Rio who lives in Medina and asking real basic questions. When are we going to get to this? And what about our property taxes? My Lord, and everybody balks as soon as I say we're going to eliminate property taxes. That's our goal. People, school districts, it all gets a little weird. I get it. But I'll remind everybody, the Republican base has put this as their number three legislative priority, right next to secure the border and secure our elections. And then you get into water rights. But the bottom line here, Sheena, is a lot of goodness has come out with work that Brian Slayton, Bob Hall, you've done. We would take a lot of those inputs and actually utilize them. And here's the thing, nobody in the Senate is actually saying what I'm saying. When we get there, we're actually going to push for this. But the biggest thing is to bring transparency to the Senate, because, Dan Patrick wants to make it look like it's all, conservative. Well, it is, but they already know that when it gets to the House, and you know how this works, Dade Phelan will throw some of these things into, Stephanie killed a lot of wonderful bills. And yet Dade Phelan has provided $250,000 to get her reelected. I mean, that should tell you a whole lot of things. And let me just throw the punchline here for everybody. We had a 7.8, just an abysmal 7.8 turnout, not even 8% turnout in the 1 March primary elections. Okay. That's how, we're talking the smallest amount of voters came out to select either the runoffs or the November candidates. You know why it's so pitiful, in my opinion, is because we keep, in the primaries, big money is pushing a bunch of rhinos and a bunch of Democrats, and the Republican base is going to start getting sick of electing people. And here's what's happening. They're just going to sit out the vote, which is, I think, is what's happening. We are in big time danger of losing the governor, the lieutenant governor, maybe not this November, because, Democrats are horrible, but we're trending to a point here where a lot of people, and this, after January 6th, when, guys like Tony Gonzalez voted for the January 6th commission, we had all our heads were scratching. Why are Republicans not defending President Trump and our way of life, you see? And a lot of people have just given up being Republican. Well, not me. And I tell everybody, we have to save the Republican Party. Sheena, you and I, we don't have a home in the Democrat Party. But we're starting to wonder, does the Republican Party really believe in conservative values? It's part of our planks, but there's a whole lot of cats and dogs up there that, heck, they're not being who they say they were. And of course, I'm the lieutenant colonel here exposing these things. I know you are. And you know this, you've been persecuted. I'm being persecuted in this race. They call you a liar. Let me give everybody the absurdity here one more time. One of the mailers that Dan Patrick put out says that, I didn't vote in the Republican primary till I started campaigning for Congress. And what I would remind Dan Patrick is then he doesn't understand military, or he just flat out hates military veterans. He probably doesn't understand them, but most veterans don't vote in the primary because we move 18 to 24 months. So we really aren't tracking primaries. Besides, our home of record changes from place to place to place. So, to reach back to certain city to get primary, I can go on. The point being is about 90% of veterans never vote in the primary. Now, general election, we vote in the general election. But here's the hypocrisy part. They let a guy named Ryan Guillen, 20 years a Democrat, come into the Republican Party. He's been voting Democrat all his life, primaries and the general elections. He even endorsed Joe Biden in the last year as he was running for president. But that guy, they were going to welcome him with open arms, except for this guy right here, the lieutenant colonel, who just has got a lot of questions. Why are we doing it like this, Dan Patrick? Because we've all had enough, and we need to get back to some basics. The planks are really biblical, godly driven. We want to abolish abortion. We want to secure this border. We want to eliminate property taxes. The list goes on. But this Republican group, for whatever reason, and y'all, we're gonna make a T-shirt that says "Don't be squishy," because I keep calling them squishy Republicans. They're squishy Republicans. They have no backbone. And some people look at our campaign and say, you're too rough, you're too terse. And to be honest, I don't have time to apologize. There is a righteous indignation that we all have about solving this, and we need to get on with it.
Texas doesn't have time for squishy Republicans. And if you guys watch,
you heard it here, Sheena. Don't be squishy.
Don't be squishy. I need one of those shirts.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
And you're talking about Dan Patrick. For those who watched my little intro video, every single picture or photo there has a backstory to it. And there's a point in it where I'm telling Dan Patrick and I'm asking him, and I point to the bracelet because it was actually under Dan Patrick's orders there in the Senate, because he is the president of the Senate, that the vast majority of grassroots Texans like myself, like the True Texas Project, like Joanna Fleming's group that goes out there, like so many grassroots groups, they wouldn't even step foot to go testify in the Senate because of Dan Patrick's orders, COVID orders. It was his orders that demanded that outside. I was so ashamed when I brought my daughter. I brought my daughter up there with a few other teenagers up there. We had a meeting with some legislators, and they had the COVID tents. Do you remember the huge COVID tents outside? Yeah. It looked like a war zone. And that was because of Dan Patrick ordering that everyone get tested to be able to testify or even walk into the Senate chambers. And so I actually asked, and you get those bracelets, the green bracelet to say that your test was negative, and that you were cleared to go in. And so I shared that, and I had that moment because I had asked him, I said, it was a group, and he had the audacity to sit there and say, like, we need more grassroots to come here to Austin. And so part of that was me telling him, like, well, do you though? Because it's under your orders that they're not able to come and testify in the Senate. And I shared with him, I said, do you know who else? I got this bracelet. Do you know who else, uses these color-coded bracelets? And you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the cartel. And look, I mean, it's really, they really are. You said it earlier, like, we're not even sure if we fit into the GOP. Well, I can tell you right then, I mean, it was feeling pretty hostile towards a lot of the grassroots. So, Dan Patrick, so many people were there in Austin, and they were in the House, they were in the House of Representatives testifying, but, that doesn't seem very friendly, especially when there were so many things like border security, the pro-life bills that were presented, like the gender modification. And you mentioned Stephanie Click, my friend David Lowe, who is also running actually against, and he is also on the primary ticket. So for those in my area, if David Lowe's on the ticket, vote for him too, please, as well. We need him. Because Stephanie Click, she was one of the ones, Brian Slayton's wall bill was in Stephanie Click's, committee. And I was there as we were trying to advocate for that, and the Save James bill, to protect our children from gender modification. And there was another stronger protecting women's sports bill that was all there. And the door to that committee was locked. They thought that we were gone. And as soon as they thought that we all left, they opened the doors and walked out. And it was quite interesting. So, and these are squishy Republicans. So don't be squishy. We need people like Raul in office, and we need people like David, my friend Nate up there in North Texas. There's so many good people, and I'm so encouraged by good, strong, non-squishy candidates. But it depends. You said it earlier. There was only 8% that showed up to vote. Guys, we need people to show up tomorrow. Polls open at 7. So
let me tell you that. Look, for everybody, I remember the first campaign we ran for Congress. Everybody said, "Oh, Raul, listen, don't go negative." And I said, "Well, I have no intentions of going negative, but we have to expose. Like, for instance, we pretty sure we warned everybody that Tony Gonzalez was a LULAC puppet, And now you see him running around with George Soros, this China pact that they have. And, Marco Rubio is part of that. And they're probably making $1 gazillion or whatever. That's all going to come out for November. And so for me, we really don't have time for cookie cutter Republican. And this is how I think they've conditioned us to believe that, if you get so ugly or negative, listen, there is a big difference between going negative, which I'm not going to do. I'm not going to disrespect anybody. But exposing your opponent, I'm pretty sure is fair game. But, that's what they use. And I know they've used that against you and a lot of other folks that do these podcasts. And they go, oh, these are just, grassroots, they're negative. And look, everybody's now wishing the mean tweets would come back with Donald Trump. And nobody here is, puppeteering Donald Trump style. A lot of us are just pretty pissed off about the way things are. Sorry, I just turned it into a rated R instead of but if it really wasn't, it's so serious. But it's almost laughable, the hypocrisy when somebody looks at us and says, we got to, everybody's running against Democrats, and somehow the news flash here is, folks, we own everything in Texas. Right now, you can blame Democrats all you want, but really Republicans aren't doing their jobs. And a guy like Dan Patrick, I remember being at an event with him. One of the first ones I went to, Pete was there, I was there. And I think he was surprised. It was about the time that Dave Phelan wouldn't bring back the, they wouldn't do a legislative bill for, the mandated vaccines, to try to protect some of our citizens. And so I told the governor, in front of everybody, and we're going to do the same thing. Look, tell Dave Phelan to resign, quit his job or whatever, or get this stuff done. But this is kind of what you have to do. And of course, the good lieutenant governor proceeded to lecture me for 35 minutes out of his 40-minute speech. But hey, we're not there to be friends. We're there to save Texas. And sometimes it's terse, and sometimes we got to get a little rough with the way we do things. Nobody's trying to purposely be mean, but we are at existential times. And Sheena and I know, because we've seen it on the border, people are dying on that river. Children are dying on that river. Children are dying in the womb. I cannot believe Texans are allowing that to happen. And again, the SCOTUS is going to tell us, you could have done something about abortion in 1973. And we took us 40-something odd years to get to that. That should tell you we as Texas have a sovereignty right to live our lives. This is what the founding fathers wanted. But they're going to shut you down. They're going to shut me down. People like Frank Lopez, Bianca, Peter Perez, by the way, he's in, I think it's Crystal City down there. Caruso Springs, I'm sorry. Peter, if you're watching, a great job what that young man is doing. And they've got, this 50,000 square foot mega monster asylum shelter that's about to be built there. We have video footage of it. And
I'll be going there tomorrow. I'll be meeting up. And Peter did comment on here earlier. Thank you, Peter, for all that he does and the people there, for the people there in DeMitt County. And I will be heading out there bright and early tomorrow morning. We're going to be meeting up with Peter and going and checking out that facility.
Yeah, him and his wife, Kailani, are fantastic patriots. And, I remember being at this thing with Dan Patrick, and when he was lecturing me, let me tell you what I heard. He says, we need more Hispanics like Pete and Raul. And yeah, we need more veterans. And in my head, I'm thinking, great, here I am. But because we're about to beat his guy tomorrow, and we're praying to that, and we're just gonna declare it in Jesus' name. We're gonna be the winners tomorrow. They decide that they're gonna call us liars, and you're not fit for office. And this is our own Republican Party, and we have one of the most powerful men in all of Austin, in the state of Texas. His name is Dan Patrick, trying to crush a lieutenant colonel. All I want to do is make it better. And I have real basic questions. Why, as Republicans, we haven't acted like it and acted like Texas? But here's the better question, and I'm going to pull on everybody's, Christian strings. We not only have to be Texans, we now have to be Texas Christians. We cannot let the babies die in the womb. We cannot let the babies die on that river because, I mean, we all just choke up when we see and hear 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, they're drowning on the river. And why? Because the cartel are using them to make them family units. And then once they get across, they discard them. And some of these kids fall into the river. They can't swim, folks. I mean, we've had adults die on the river. And then you look at a little older children, 12-year-old young ladies. And you know this, this is, all of it is sickening, girls and boys, but there is a fetish for boys too in this country. And they're being sexually trafficked. And I saw Greg Abbott today down at the border. I'm not even sure what else is he going to say. This is what I liken what's happening with our Republican leaders. The sewer pipe is broken in the house, and it's coming in. It's in our kneecaps. It's getting up to our waist, and it's coming up to our chin. And instead of stopping the sewage from coming in, we're going to raise the ceiling. And by that I mean we're creating more asylum shelters. That's the answer Tony Gonzalez was providing to Congress with John Cornyn, Henry Cuellar, and the Senator Sinema, whatever her name is, out of Arizona. 2 senators and one a Democrat and one Republican, 2 representatives, one a Republican and another a Democrat. Their answer to solving the border crisis is to ease the tension on the border by providing more processing units. Really. And by the way, that's exactly what is on the Libre initiative.
Yes, it is.
That Tony Gonzalez has taken thousands of money from, and so has his mentor, Pete Flores, my opponent. This is why they hate me, because I didn't come here to play Republican with, cookie cutter Republicanism. I'm here to be a hardcore Republican for the great state of Texas, a conservative, the real one, and to tell people Tony was a Democrat and so is Pete Flores, or else you're never going to fix this border. But look, I suspect there's a lot of people, Dan Patrick, getting a lot of kickbacks from this non-government organ. If I'm wrong, I'll take it back. But let's see where the money's coming from, because that's really what it is. And we're going to have to be terse about it. And we are the new batch. Look, this age group, you, me, the 55-year-olds, maybe to the 30-year-olds, we've had enough, and we're waking up. And, you see Bianca and Maria Miller and some of the other folks. I mean, folks, these are powerhouses, and they're making some noise, and you're going to wake up to a reality here. Texas has had enough, and we're going to hold every one of those Republican rhinos. We're going to hold them accountable, because we can no longer sustain this, and our taxes are going through the roof. I mean, this is crazy. We're crazy. Well,
and the thing of it is too, this is the thing I think that I've been trying to get people to understand is that absolutely
gives you a headache. You're like, what?
It does, but absolutely everything is connected. When we talk about the elections, election integrity, when we talk about the CRT in the schools, when we talk about the property taxes, I was just in Liberty County. I did a whole live video about what was going on in Liberty County, Texas, hundreds of miles away from the border. I actually was just out there in Quemado earlier with my friend Wyatt with Texas Border Patriots. God bless them. And, Abbott earlier was just talking about under the bridge in Del Rio, and then, in the Eagle Pass City Hall, where he had his I don't even know, you're right, I don't know what else he has to talk about, but he was just talking about him and Director McCraw were just talking about the camps that we know are right over the border in Mexico. And when I was talking to Wyatt, he was saying that the illegals that are crossing over there, these are men. I was out there last night. We had a breach point there, and clearly these guys that were coming through are guys that are with the carpeted soles. We were trying to track them. We just couldn't find anyways, they were bad dudes, right? And they were saying that the camp over there, this is in between Piedras Negras and Acuña, right? Yeah. This is in Quemado, Normandy area. That the camp over there, the guys that are coming over, they're saying that they're sending them over in relationship to their destination in Texas. So,
Yeah.
for example, and this is according to the guys that are coming over. These are according to the illegals coming over. And there's a reason why I'm saying this. They sent a cluster. Okay, this group is going to Houston. You guys go together. You guys are going to Dallas. You guys go together. You guys are going to San Antonio. You guys go together. And they send them over in groups like that. And these are all men. My point is, though, is that when we say that it's all connected, election integrity, of course, abortion, the pro-life issues, the border, number one, for myself and many Texans right now, the property taxes, they're not staying along the border. They're impacting and infiltrating all over Texas. And the property taxes, one of the number one things that drives those up is the cost in the schools. And when I was just in Liberty County, I talked about the huge increase in exploding cost of the schools because of this massive influx, this invasion. And then when we talk about election integrity, the city of Denton, they just passed an ordinance to allow non-citizens to run for local office. So when I say that these issues that you, Raul, and you running, yes, you are running for your constituents, in District 24, but these are issues that are pertinent to all Texans, all conservative Texans, and our GOP leadership is failing us because, like you said, we've had a trifecta for 20 years, and we don't need the squishy Republicans. We need strong Republicans that are willing to ruffle those feathers and to stand up for the conservative values, because our children are suffering and it's about to get a lot worse. I don't think people really understand how bad right now. You just said earlier, one of your sources are saying now 18,000 to 21,000, a week or a day? A day. And I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it, because right here there was over 33,000 just here in Del Rio sector in less than 48 hours. I believe it.
Yeah, and let me just put some numbers to that, so we can quantify it for people. So Operation Lone Star last year, $3.2 billion. My opponent, Dan Patrick, Greg Abbott, they're all saying no. We even a guy, all these representatives, we're for border security. So what they're telling you is we spent your hard-earned money that we took as taxes. By the way, they're through the roof, and we applied it to border security. And Bashina and I know one thing. It doesn't deter, it doesn't stop the invasion. All it does is it makes it clinical. So, people aren't running around not as before in neighborhoods, but buses are rolling back and forth to Austin and San Antonio. They're flying them in, they're flying them out. And so Operation Lone Star, about 2 weeks ago, Greg Abbott gave it another, half a billion dollars. I don't know, something like $400 million. That money is our taxes. And so when you bring in 20,000 people a day, or even more so, there's not enough money in the piggy bank. Now, here's the thing. Texas has been running surpluses every year. I think this past year there was a $25 billion surplus. So to Sheena's point, the border impacts your property taxes, because instead of giving that $25 billion to the $85 billion it takes to zero out all our property taxes, we're now going to spend it on trying to secure this border. Now, let's go to elections. And Sheena, you know this. Republicans literally reduced the felony penalties to misdemeanors. A guy named Steve Allison right down there in San Antonio, Andy Murr, our representative there in Medina County, I don't know if he's up in McCullough or one of these hill country, Kimball County, that area. That guy gavelled it in. And so now all these illegal aliens are going to Boston, they're going to California, they're going everywhere, but they are also going to places like Houston, which has predominantly had just a series of issues every election, every time. But then Denton County, up in the DFW areas, of course, Harris and Tarrant, all those, to include Bexar and Travis County. These are places where Democrats have figured out a way to let illegal aliens vote. Well, if they vote and get away with it, you'll never know about it. But if they get caught, the penalty is a misdemeanor. And that takes us right back to about 40 minutes ago when I said the only way to deport an illegal alien is to, one, charge him with a felony, whether trespassing or fraudulently voting. So you have to ask yourself, why did Republicans lower the penalties? And now, there was a few people that got caught up in fraudulently voting. If you remember the Project Veritas video that came out with that lady, I think it's Raquel Rodriguez down in Bexar County. Well,
Yeah.
she names my opponent, Pete Flores, as being one of the persons that paid her. And Dan Patrick, Don Buckingham, everybody's lined up behind this guy. Did anybody do their research? And yet, again, they hate this guy, right? The lieutenant colonel here, for whatever reason. And I don't like to use the Hispanic anything, but I'll play off of Dan Patrick's words. Here I am, a Hispanic lieutenant colonel, military, asking the right questions. But you're right, the impact of this border, it's all of that. It's taxes, elections, and here's the big one that, it's right there as well, is safety and security. I always say for our children, but it's all of our family members. If you're driving down Kinney County on Highway 90, you literally got to be on the lookout for a car chase. If you're on Interstate 10, down going by Kimball County between Sonora and Junction, you now have to be on the lookout for a car chase because they are running over fences. Cattle are getting out. Ranchers and farmers are having, all kinds of hell in places they used to be able to take their grandchildren to, and not anymore. You know this. I know them firsthand down there in Del Rio, all the way to Rock Springs, back down to Maverick, into beautiful Kinney County, Uvalde County. Lots of people that just can't enjoy their land anymore because we are literally militarized. And of course, the DPS and the Guard are doing the best they can, but throwing more money at Operation Lone Star, you're not going to have enough money. We need to declare an invasion, stop this mess, detain and deport. That way our taxes aren't being spent on anything anymore other than actually deterring this thing. And we can tell the federal government to go to hell. We got it from here. But you're going to be non-squishy and tell the squishy Republicans to get the hell out of Austin. Because let me tell you something. Let's put this on record as well. We're going to get, we're going to do everything we can to get Greg Abbott elected. We don't want Beto. Same thing with Dan Patrick. And that guy don't like me any further than he or I can throw each other. But next cycle, I assure you, I will do everything in my power to push and find the right candidate to run, because I think everybody are waking up to realize we have weak leadership. That's all there is to it. You can't be in this mess and call yourself a Republican. Get me Ron DeSantis, and what I got to do to get him to Texas. That's what I'm at. And of course, if the Trumpster comes back, great. But he needs to stop endorsing squishy Republicans. Let me make this one point. Kevin McCarthy in 2020 got Donald Trump. He just bamboozled him or whatever and convinced him to endorse a lot of rhinos, to include Tony Gonzalez right down the road, who backstabbed them immediately. And but here in Texas, our Kevin McCarthy is Dan Patrick, because he got him to endorse a lot of people, and probably money was related to that. Again, I take you back to, if I was a journalist and I were to write, what happened in Houston and even here, Trump Republicans are being trumped by Dan Patrick misusing or abusing his friendship with Trump to get the wrong endorsements. Because I assure you, Pete Flores is a South Texas Democrat. Tony Gonzalez on that district is about as Soros as you can get. And at some point, you're not going to be able to look at hardcore Republicans, conservatives, Christians like us, not perfect, just imperfect, but trying to do something about the way we live our lives. At some point, you're not going to be able to convince the masses to keep it red. It's just, what shade of red are you talking about? Liz Cheney red? Tony, I was going to say Tony McCarthy, but it's Tony Gonzalez. You're
not that far off. You're not that far off.
Yeah, and listen, that guy hasn't held. He's only 800 miles on the border. Every time he holds an event, you have to RSVP. You can't film anything. Brother, you're not going to be able to get away with that much longer. And I assure you, Frank Lopez, who is a real conservative Christian and probably more Republican than he is, he's probably going to take him out in the November election. And so, Texans are tired of being used and misused. You're either going to be a Republican or you're not. And the more important thing is you're either going to be a Texas Christian or you're not. And that's it. That's where we're at.
You talk about it turning it red. We need to turn it red with the blood of Jesus Christ, with our Lord and
Amen,
Savior Jesus
sister.
Christ. We
Amen.
are not owned by any Republican, Democrat, whatever. But we identify as a conservative Christian that is trying to turn the great state of Texas red with the blood of Jesus Christ. And we're going to start by saving the babies.
That's
We're
right.
going to start by securing the border because these atrocities that are happening, they should not be happening here in Texas. They just shouldn't.
Fentanyl is killing our children. Fentanyl is killing our population to the tune of 100,000 people. I mean, this is insane. Let me make another point, and we have a lot of friends in South Texas. A lot of them are not going to vote Republican in November. They just haven't seen the progress. Greg Abbott, everybody, they can go down to the border all they want, but until you act and actually counter the NGOs and secure the border and make it safe like Trump did, the Republican Party is in peril here. And me and you, we're trying to keep it conservative and Christian, but because we are never going to vote Democrat, we need to straighten up this Republican Party. But you're right. We need to turn it, the blood of Jesus Christ, red in Texas. And we'll literally fall on our sword for that. I mean, I'm all in for God. We're imperfect, Sheena. You and I know that. But we're here. We'll take the persecution. Call me whatever you want, but you cannot call me squishy.
No, and you are going to be a fighter. You're going to be a fighter for your constituents, for District 24, and a fighter for all Texans. And I'm just so thankful and grateful. God, if you would please, where can those who may not be following you right now, of course, your website, if you please plug in your website, your social media plugs, plug it all in for us. So this way they can celebrate with you tomorrow night after they go and vote for you.
Yeah, listen, the Reyes, the number 4 Texas, we're Facebook Living it on my page here. Anything Reyes, the number 4 Texas, Instagram, InstaChat, Telegram, whatever all the social media. We have some wonderful people that run that. And so just plug that in and you can go in there. If you got a few extra bucks, throw them our way. There's a donate button on that website. If not, listen, pray. Tomorrow's a big day. There's a lot of big money being thrown around. And here comes the Reyes campaign. By the way, this is not about Raul. This is every Texan that has had enough. Let's get in there and blow open the windows at the Senate and find out where the cockroaches are so we can scurry them out and shine the light on put some truth into that and figure out what's happening. But yeah, Reyes, the number 4 Texas, pray for us. Big day tomorrow. Let me just say this. And when you endeavor like I do and Sheena and a whole lot of the folks, imperfect Christians as we are, what I've said is I have a covenant with the Lord. I'll do what he says. And at the end of the day, we can be the bug or we can be the windshield. Put your visuals on that. And you have to accept both. Tomorrow, you get to decide where we're going to be, whatever God puts in your heart. If you haven't voted, go out and do it. And guarantee you, we're not going to be squishy. So, Sheena, thanks for having me tonight. God bless you. And I want to thank for everything that you do and everybody else. I see it every day. Really proud of everything you're doing. If I can help, let me know. And let's just keep fighting for Texas like we're doing here right now.
Yes, amen. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you down there in the Capitol and having a friendly office to be able to go into. So, and he's going to have that Pustello ready in his office for when I come visit, because I'll be there. I will be there.
Yeah.
And I will bring Bianca and so many others. We will be there. The wonderful people down here in Kinney County and all other Joanne Fleming's group. We will be there, and your office will end up being a safe haven for the conservatives here in Texas, because Austin is a swamp. And so I'm excited for tomorrow. Thank you, Raul, for you and your family for serving this country, serving the great state of Texas, and continuing to serve, because you don't have to do this. We're continuing to serve and throwing yourself out there in the line of fire for my family, for their family, for our viewers. Yes, Misty, for your family. So yes, thank you so much, Raul. And tomorrow, let's bring it home. Let's bring it for a victory tomorrow night.
Well, if you're down the road, you know where we live. If not, I'll send you an address. Come on down. We're gonna lay it all at Jesus' feet. Victory or defeats. That's how we roll. Okay.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, guys, so thank you, Raul, so much for coming on. He is amazing. Again, you guys can go to Reyes, 4 Texas.com. Reyes, 4 Texas. Guys, go also and check out the website, securetheborder.us, to find out what you can do there in your city, your county, on the state level to fight back to help secure this border. So, and one of those things is trying to get people like Raul, like Frank Lopez in office, like David Lowe, like Nate tomorrow. Guys, just show up there to the polls. Tomorrow is Tuesday, the 24th, and please make sure the polls open at 7 a.m. Bring a friend. If you are in District 24, if you are in one of these other current districts that has one of these hot contested races, guys, show up. Bring your family. We need a big showing out there to stand up and say, we're not going to do this anymore. We need to get the strong, conservative, not squishy Republicans on the ballot for November. So tomorrow, polls open at 7. Again, visit securetheborder.us. And if you guys still can't find Raul's website, I also have Raul's website, Frank Lopez's website, Matt Krause for DA tomorrow in Tarrant County. So many others. Information is on there under the campaign corner at securetheborder.us. So guys, log in there and see what you can do to take action. And of course, going to the polls tomorrow is one other huge way to fight back and to do all that we can here to save, to secure our sovereign state border. Like we said, it goes back to state sovereignty, to secure our sovereign state border and save our sweet and beautiful and precious Texas. Get out and vote tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Thank you for joining in. God bless. Good night.
Tested for COVID.
Yes.
And I had to get a color-coded bracelet.
Yes, like the one I'm wearing.
Yes. And you know who else does that? It's the Mexican cartel. So,
Thank you for your time, and let's go, Brandon.